Before the video starts, I just want to apologise for the absolutely terrible lighting in this video. The usual light that I usually put behind the camera in the videos has completely just shattered itself, it's broken. So I apologise for that. The minor pentatonic scale, okay, so we'll start with the actual shape of the scale before we start to get into anything else. So we'll start here at the 5th fret. So we'll grab the 5th fret of the low E string with our first finger. Okay, and then we'll grab the 8th fret of the low E string with our 4th finger, the pinky. So 5, 8, and then we'll come down to the 8th string, and then we'll grab the 5th fret, and then the 7th fret. So we want to grab the 5th fret with our first finger, and then we'll grab the 7th fret with our 3rd finger, the ring finger, okay? So we've got 1, 5, 8, 5, 7, on the D string it's 5, 7, G string 5, 7, B string 5, 8, and then the high E string is 5, 8. Okay, so starting from the top, 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 8. Now the exact pentatonic shape that we just played is called the A minor pentatonic scale, okay? So I'm going to break that all down for you and what that all means. So we'll start with the first bit, A minor. So A, that just refers to whatever key the scale is in, but that exact note just derives from the root note of the scale, okay? So on the 5th fret, this note is A. That's why what we just played is called the A minor pentatonic scale, okay? It's just because the root note is A, so therefore this scale is in the key of A minor. But that scale shape is actually movable. So if I played on the 3rd fret, so it's the same shape, but if we play it on the 3rd fret, because this root note here is G, that means that what I just played is the G minor pentatonic scale. If I wanted to play it up on the 10th fret, that is the D minor pentatonic scale because this root note is D, okay? Okay, so A minor, so the minor refers to the actual tonality of the scale. So this is the minor pentatonic scale. There is also a major pentatonic scale. We're not going to talk about that in this video because this video is just about the minor pentatonic scale. But that just represents the tonality of the scale. So see how that scale, it sounds sort of a bit like sadder and melancholy, because you know how like minor chords, that's A minor, that's A major. See how the minor chord sounds a bit like sadder and more like melancholy, and then the major sounds more like happy and bright. That's the same with scale. So if I were to play the A major pentatonic scale, see how that sounds more like happier and like major sounding than. See how the minor pentatonic scale sounds like more sad and depressing. That's what the minor means. Pentatonic, so the word pentatonic, it sounds really complicated, but it's actually not that simple. Pentatonic, the penta in that word just means 5. So this whole scale, it only has 5 notes. Okay, that's what the penta means. Penta meaning 5. The whole scale only has 5 notes. I know that it looks like it has a lot more than 5. But in actuality, all of those notes are actually just 5 notes. They just start to repeat themselves. So the notes in the A minor pentatonic scale are A, C, D, E, G, and then it comes back to A again. The notes start to repeat themselves. This is where the concept of octaves come in. So octaves in music is just the point that the notes start to repeat themselves. So if you just play the E string open, and then you play the 12th fret on the low E string, this note is E as well. These two notes, these are 1 octave apart, the same as this note and this note. They're 1 octave apart entire scale itself is only made up of 5 notes. And then the word tonic in pentatonic, the tonic, that's like the fancy music theory word for like the root note essentially, or the key center, which is like another technical term. So in this case, the key center or tonic is A. That's the root note of the scale. That's the tonic. Why are scales important? So if you're watching this, chances are you are in like the beginner stage, so I'm not going to delve too deep into it. But essentially, for the point that you're at, all you need to know is that scales are what like licks and riffs and solos are made from. That's why licks and riffs and things like that are based around scales, because all of the notes when played together sound good together. That makes it really easy when you're trying to make a lick or a riff. And all of the notes in the scale sound good together when played with chords in that key. So all of these notes in the A minor pentatonic scale, all of those will sound good played over, say, A minor, C, F, any chord that's in the key of A minor. I'll show you some examples of famous riffs that are all just completely based around the corresponding pentatonic scale. So we'll take School's Out by Alice Cooper. That whole riff, apart from this one note, is all just the E minor pentatonic scale. Let's also take Layla. That whole riff, apart from this note, it's all just the D minor pentatonic scale. Let's also take Miss You by the Rolling Stones. All A minor pentatonic. Okay, so I'll play a quick little chord progression and I'll show you how easy it is to create like little riffs and licks and solos and things like that only using the pentatonic scale. So that chord progression, A minor, C major and F major, that was in the key of A minor, and I was playing the A minor pentatonic scale over that. But if I only know the minor pentatonic scale, does that mean I can only jam over minor keys? Well no, actually. You can actually still jam over major keys, and you can jam over major keys using what's called finding the relative major of that key. So relative major and minor keys, they are just essentially two keys that share the same notes but have different key centers. Okay, so let's take the key of A minor. If I'm trying to find the relative major for A minor, I can just go up 3 frets. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the relative major to A minor is C major. And that means that the relative minor to C major is A minor. Right, let's try and find this for D major, okay, on the 10th fret. How do we figure out the relative minor for D major? Okay, so we just go back 3 frets. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. There we go. So the relative minor for D major is B minor. Now what that means is, if you have a song that's in the key of C major, you can play the A minor pentatonic scale over that and jam over that, because both keys use the same note, so it's still going to sound good together. Same as for D major, you can play the B minor pentatonic scale over a song in the key of D major, and it's still going to sound good because both keys use the same notes. But you can also jam over a song in the corresponding major key, not relative major, the corresponding major key, okay? So if I have a song in the key of A minor, I can jam over a song in the key of A major, 100%. Because they share the same root notes, so a lot of the notes in both scales, they share the same notes. Even though one's major and one's minor. This is actually really common in like blues and rock, where artists play the corresponding minor pentatonic scale over a song in the corresponding major key. I'll do that now and I'll show you. Greatest soloer ever, but I'm sure you got my point. As far as ways to practice the scale goes, just play the scale every day. Every time you play, just go through it a couple times until it becomes second nature. There is no like secret hack to memorizing the pentatonic scale. You just have to play it. I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, please like the video, subscribe, ring that bell. My name is Seth Webster. I appreciate you all for watching. I'll see you around.